I've got a dice tower behind me, and you get 3 rolls on the tower, and whatever numbers you roll, those are the questions we start with.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Do you have any pets?
I have no pets, although I did have pet rats growing up. So they were called fancy rats, and they were not the kind of rats you'd find on the street in New York City. I mean, they probably were. I don't really know where exactly they were from, but they were called Finn and Piccadilly, and they sort of had these large bottoms, long tails, and we kept them in our house.
What is the most memorable rap gift you've ever received?
The one that immediately comes to mind, when I was 17, Rosie Byrne gave me a David Mamet book. So that was cool. And I'd never read him before. And she gave me, and there was a book with like a handwritten note in the front, and that's really cool. But then I also, this year actually got from the show, somebody gave me a first edition of Joan Didion's Democracy, which would now probably be like even more special.
You get some really cool, thoughtful rap gifts. I feel like most of the answers that I get are, like, I don't know, t-shirts with like inside jokes from the show or something. Those are great.
Yeah, there are always those, and then you're kind of like, well, those are going to go in the drawer, but yeah.
Can you give us one audition high and then one audition low and tell us what you learned from that low?
I do remember an audition where I had to sing, and it was just a slow car crash. Something happens when you receive a role that you're going to go in for where you sort of convince yourself that you might be able to do anything. But it was like a musical theatre part. Like there are actresses out there who would have trained in order to do this kind of thing. But I just sort of winged it, and I turned up. And there was a pianist in the room as well, so that's sort of like very professional. And I just launched in to my song, and it was so bad I started crying and carried on singing just with tears streamed down my face. And then I just got out of there. And it was something out of like a romantic comedy. I mean, with no romance, it was just a very dark moment.
I mean, it sounds to me like you showed off a lot of range in that audition, so anyone in that room should have been impressed.
I think they were just like shocked, haven't seen them since.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Collider Ladies Night. I'm very excited to be able to talk to one of my favorite actors out there, but also this incredible show that is making my head spin right now. It's Imogen Poots for Outer Range. Hello. Oh my God, you're so good in this show.
Thank you. It's, it's certainly a strange one, which is why we all wanted to do it. So that's good.
I would imagine, you want to show off great range and do a million things, but of all of your earliest movies, was there anyone in particular that kind of made you say, like, I hope everyone in the industry sees me in this one in particular, because like this right here shows everyone where, when everything clicked and when you were able to put into focus for yourself, what you were drawn to in terms of the types of roles that you wanted to get going forward?
Yeah, I genuinely think that happened. And I did some films in my early 20s that I really loved doing. I loved the experience and I loved the subject matter. So I think about, we made a tiny movie about Tim and Jeff Buckley that I just loved making. It was almost like a blending fusion of like life and art totally, because we were filming like in the East Village in New York, and I was falling in love with New York, and it all kind of conflated in a beautiful way. But then it was probably around the time of doing Green Room actually, when I felt a new type of excitement and sense of, all right, this is what I care about, and this is a kind of project that I objectively can be like, this is a good film, and I can defend it. I can talk about it on both sides, like as a movie and as an actor. And I think that really changed a lot for me, having made choices that I didn't feel reflected that in the same way.
What if we kind of flip that question around a little bit? Was there any early experience on a set that I guess, illuminated something that you didn't want to incorporate in your career. And it doesn't have to be like throwing anything under the bus. Maybe even just like a specific genre that didn't click with you, or a certain technique that you tried and it didn't work out and you kind of knew to push that aside.
Yeah, so many times. And I think there's something great about starting out younger as an actor, because you sort of, you know, you learn as you do it and you have very informative early on experiences. But I'd also say that you can often um, betray your true sort of sense of taste and self by just working, or by perhaps listening to people around you because that's what you're supposed to do, but you haven't yet kind of your own volition decided what you want to do. And I think that a couple times I was part of a project where, no disrespect to the people making the film, but it was interesting even on Need for Speed, where it was like a car race movie with this beautiful cast, but I knew that it wasn't right. And I knew making the film that it just didn't reflect anything that I really deeply kind of valued. Um, and that's a kind of lesson that you learn, and you're able to say, okay, that's that kind of movie, and there are people out there who love that film, but I don't really understand why. So it makes more sense for me to, like, choose different projects. And on the flip side of that, I think I've become a lot less snobby. And I think I was kind of snobby when I was younger. So I'm able now to be a bit more like, oh, that's what that movie is meant to be, and you should go have fun and enjoy it, rather than like critique something like that, because you can't do it.
We don't have enough time to cover every single incredible actor you've worked with over the course of your career. So, in an effort to highlight two people right now, first, can you name someone with a process that aligns with your own? Someone that, when you hit the set, you immediately clicked and were just automatically in sync. But then, can you also name someone who challenged you to adapt and maybe even adapt for the better?
Jesse Eisenberg and I have worked together quite a few times. And we are similar in how seriously we take the work. But then at this point, it's just, he's such a like pleasure to be around. But I think it's very easy to take the work incredibly seriously and have fun, and then also off camera exist in that space together as well. But I'm trying to work out if that's just a result of having gotten to know someone really well, that you're able to like work so comfortably together. Because I could say the same about Alia Shawkat, those people where you can kind of take up the space necessary to do the good work, but also then really enjoy the pockets in between.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and get loose. And then someone who's challenged me, I'm thinking about, I did a play in London, if that's, I know it's not, I know this is like a cinema.
No, go for it. Storytelling is storytelling. I don't care what the medium is.
Cool. Well, yeah, Imelda Staunton, she is a hero of mine. And getting to do an Albee play with her was quite extraordinary. And she was just a brilliant artist to be around. And very subtly and generously insisted that I, take up space too. And it's very easy, I think, in the presence of someone like that to defer and to, but it's very much a team, and we all needed to kind of go full pelt with it. So I think she wouldn't be aware of that. She'll never know sort of how much I was like, oh, I'm going to pull my socks up all the way over my face today. It was just so cool.
Just because I think this is probably worth highlighting, what did she do to encourage you to take up space? And when you go on to like be a leader and maybe have that influence on someone else, how will you kind of convey that information so you could have the same effect on another co-star?
I think what's really important to someone like her is having fun. And I keep saying this, but it's a comfortable discomfort. So it's sort of, you're confident enough and you take the work seriously enough, of course, but you don't lose that very dangerous edge which keeps it all so alive. And by the time we were sort of deep into the run of the play, and we'd opened and all of kind of that was out of the way, Imelda would sort of do things just to make me laugh a little bit on stage in front of the audience. She might like do something to catch my eye, or maybe mimic something I do. And there were just little tricks that she would do where it would just suddenly jolt you out of any tick or pattern, or it just kept it all very alive and dangerous. And I think that's so like, it's fun. It's like you're all in on it together, and it's very special.
Let's get into Outer Range. So I guess that like this is only your second lead role in a TV show. So I am wondering, were you just naturally drawn to the film format early on? And I also have to throw in, you know, does it create any hesitation when the first time you have a lead role on a TV show, it doesn't pan out and it's reduced to one season? Because like I remember when Roadies was coming out, like that was a huge high profile project that everyone was so excited about. And I just have to imagine that it's a bummer when it isn't received as well as it needed to be to get a second season.
Yeah, that's a funny one because again, I feel like Cameron Crowe is he's an actual angel. He's one of the kindest, most generous people I've ever met through this industry. He's kind of a freak of nature as well, because he's like still so kind. Like he hasn't been like, crystallized. And he wrote this beautiful character, and the pilot was what we shot first. It's so much more unpredictable with TV, because with a movie, you have the script and that's what you go and shoot. And with television, often you get the pilot, and then it could be 12 months later that you get the other episodes. And in that time, a lot of things have changed and people have weighed in and all of that. So I felt with Roadies, like I loved the pilot. It was almost like we made that movie, that story. And then I felt okay that we didn't go past the first season. I felt like the story that Cameron set out to tell was told. And I also question whether ultimately was TV the right medium for that story. Perhaps it would have made more sense to condense it into a film.
So to compare the two experiences, what was it like when actually, like, there's no other way to get at this, but to first ask you, how was it getting the scripts for this? I guess, did you know right out the gate Autumn's entire journey throughout the season, or was it a matter of like you're kind of experiencing her story like us as an audience is, where you're getting episode to episode?
Yeah, I was getting episode to episode. However, I'd been given a sort of run through of the Bible of the show and the synopsis early on by Brian Watkins and Zev Borrow, who show ran the show. But what was different, and I think Roadies perhaps prepped me for this, was I really didn't know anything about Roadies. It was all a surprise. I had no idea that the character of Kellyanne would have a romantic storyline as well, and I had mixed feelings about that at the time. And so with this, I was able to ask those kind of questions up front and be like, listen, I don't want to play this like hippie chick who just is there to sort of be mesmerizing, whatever anyone thinks that women are there to do on screen. But they were really cool about that. And they were very upfront about sort of what her arc would be and how much I would have to do. And I really loved how even just the early conversations about the character when it came to wardrobe, when it came to things like that, where I felt really heard on my concerns and really supported. And so it was a good learning curve to have had a different experience before and then be able to sort of be that thorough, I suppose.
Can you give us an example of something, whether it's wardrobe, character detail, line of dialogue, where you were able to step in and say, this doesn't feel quite right. Let's change it and we can see it in the final product?
Yeah, 100%. There was a moment where I got word that someone behind the scenes somewhere, who knows, wanted Autumn to wear sort of like Daisy Duke, like little jean shorts and like a crop top. I was like, yeah, I guess that would be kind of stupid to wear that if you're hiking alone through the American West, So it was a back and forth conversation, and in the end, we won, which is great. 2022, hopefully that's heard. But that the fact that those conversations still occur was very interesting to me, and I think I very much felt a battle because it's a predominantly a male show. with some extraordinary women in it, with Lily and Tamara and Issa. But there was, I think there's often a sense that, oh, because this is a blonde 30-something actress, her role is to be some sort of a siren or lean into this kind of, as I said before, mesmerizing sensibility. And actually it's like, no, I'm an actor playing a part in a show with a bunch of other actors and we're telling a story. And so it's just important to have that heard in those kind of instances.
I cannot congratulate you enough on Outer Range. Seriously, like in the middle of an exceptional ensemble, you shine big time. So huge congratulations on this and everything you've accomplished. We'll have you back on for the next one. So many titles we didn't get to today.
Thank you for all your lovely questions. It's such an intelligent, wonderful conversation.